So let's talk about why learning data analytics skills isn't enough in today's age of getting hired. You typically hear the same thing said in different ways, but basically it's learn Excel, learn SQL, learn Python, and then you'll land a job in data, which is semi-true. You can still land a job, but you're not going to be competitive in today's market. And especially when the market is rough with what we're seeing today. AI is changing everything as well, and it's doing it fast. It's automating tasks, it's rewriting job descriptions, it's creating code, and it's eventually going to replace candidates who just don't adapt. It's also why I'm learning AI, because I do not want to get left behind. So today we're going to talk about what I would personally do if I had to become a data analyst today. I wouldn't follow the traditional path. I would do things unconventional, but if you've been following the channel, you know a lot of the things that I do recommend is unconventional. Hi, my name is Jeff, and I first became a data analyst over 13 years ago, and now I work as a business analyst consultant at a Fortune 500 company. I've been on the hiring side, I've screened resumes, I've interviewed and tested candidates, I've helped with deliberations, so I have unique insights for helping people get hired. The job market is also rough right now, but I'm on a mission to help 10,000 people get hired and break into data analytics. So if that's your goal too, hit that subscribe button, because I'm here to help you every step of the way. In this video, I'm walking you through the exact 8-step roadmap I would use if I was starting over today. Step 1 is get experience first. Everyone says that you need experience, but no one tells you how to get experience before you're hired. I'm going to show you how to flip the script and start with experience even before you have a job while you're learning. Step 2 is pick the right industry. Generous portfolios don't stand out anymore. I'm going to show you how to pick a niche like finance, crypto, or operations, and then how to make your projects look way more valuable. 3 is choose the best platform. Do you start with Udemy, Coursera, Datacamp? I break down what I would use and in what order, and to build momentum fast and avoid getting overwhelmed. Then step 4 is stack job-ready skills. Not all skills are created equal, but I'll show you which ones I would learn first and in what sequence I would learn them to build a portfolio that will actually get callbacks and set a great foundation. 5 is freelance for proof. You don't need permission to start solving business problems. I'm going to show you how to bridge your experience gap with your first freelance projects, even if you're just starting out. 6, we're going to start building your data brand. Resumes are going to be dead weight if you don't also show up online. You want every edge that you can get. I'm going to show you how to position yourself on LinkedIn, GitHub, Notion, Medium, even if you're still learning, so that you can stand out and get hired more easily. And then step 7, we're going to talk about getting certified strategically. Not all certifications are worth it. I'm going to share the ones that I would strategically think about investing in and how to use them to stand out in job applications and in interviews. And then step 8, network into a job. 70 to 80% of jobs are filled through referrals or make referrals significantly easier to get that job. So I'm going to show you how to connect with people, even if you don't know anybody, and how to turn cold messages into warm opportunities. I put a lot of thought into my real strategy if I were to do this all over again. So I've included all the time codes below, so bookmark this video and come back to it when you need, because it's going to be a massive video. Now, let's dive in. Now, how I build experience while learning. Before we dive into what I'd be learning if I were starting over, we need to talk about strategy, because this is where most beginners get stuck and when they start applying to data analyst roles later. Because what you need to know is you need experience to get hired, but you need a job to get experience. So if I were starting from scratch with the goal of becoming a data analyst, while I'm learning, I'd make it a priority to land a role that gives me access to business data, even if it's not officially a data job. Yes, that does mean potentially starting with a lower level role, but one that helps me gain real experience as I build my skills. Because the fastest way to get hired later is to overcome my experience gap by applying what I'm learning currently or will be learning to real business data. The goal is I'm going to use my new data skills that I learned to build momentum, gain experience, and create portfolio projects while getting paid. So think about this as a data adjacent role and something that lets you work with spreadsheets, clean up messy reports, analyze simple trends, and then have the ability to automate repetitive tasks with Excel, VBA, Python. And because this is one of the things that nobody tells you, you don't need a data analyst job to gain data analyst experience. You just need a job that lets you start doing the work. This is how you're going to break out of that no experience, no job cycle by getting experience while you're learning. So here is exactly how I do that, depending on where I'd be starting from. If I was a student, still learning, still in school, I would find a part-time job or an internship where I could get access to any data. What happens if I already have a job and have access to some type of data? This is how I'd internally pivot. This is the ideal situation because I'd be able to start applying my new skills immediately after learning them to lock in the knowledge better. Now let's talk about the third and final scenario. What happens if I was working a job where I had no access to data at all? So here is what I would do. First, I would try to find a new job. Like honestly, I would try to find a new job if I could pivot internally that had a more data focused job with more exposure to data naturally. Reports, Excel files, any of that, text files, I would want to pivot into that role with my existing experience. If that is not possible, what I would have to do is I would volunteer. I would work for free in exchange for the experience that I need. I would reach out to a nonprofit, I would reach out to local businesses, and I would offer to track donations, sales, social engagement, whatever they needed. And I'm speaking from experiences because I know a lot of entrepreneurs. And if I were to go to them right now, which I am going to do this with like some AI projects later, that they would gladly let me work for them for free for a portfolio project, a case study, and for the experience. Now you want to think about, I might not have any entrepreneur friends. What do I do? Here are the best places where you can find them. And I've known people who've gone to these other places. There could be Chamber of Commerce events or inside your various cities. So think of it as just a club for small businesses, and then they have regular events. A lot of people don't know that they have regular events and it's on their calendar. So then you'll see various talks, meetups, mixers, and look for any data analytics events or just any mixers and then start going to them because they're already qualified leads. So what that means is that they have an interest in data analytics. So once you go, when you meet everybody there, they know that they need to be doing data analytics. They know the power that data analytics is going to give their business and the insights, especially for various companies like e-commerce. Now, what you can do is you introduce yourself as an aspiring data analyst and you're learning data analytics on the side, and you're here just to be able to offer your services for free because you need the experience. And you'd be surprised on how many jobs you'll be able to get because you'll be working for free, but you'll be able to get the experience that you need on the side. This is exactly what I did when I needed marketing experience when I graduated in the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis and I could not find a job. What I did on the side was I did marketing for free for a small business to get my experience. The other places that you can go is networking events at co-working spaces or meetups, trade shows, big conferences that are related to data or not even related to data. You can just go into a specialized niche that you're interested in, go to all of the different vendors, and then talk about them that you're offering your data analytics service and you want to work for free if they have any work that they can do, because there's a high chance you'd be able to talk to the CEO or somebody of power to get you a job and get you working. So think about that. And even just walking into local stores and offering help. So here's another quick story. There was a guy who was going around to all of the businesses, knocking on their doors and then asking to speak with the CEO or head of marketing, and then doing their sales pitches and selling that way. My marketing director, actually the CMO, what she did, and she was the co-owner as well, was she was like, I'll offer you a job because door-to-door selling is hard and I know the resilience that it takes. So if you want a job, I'd offer it to you because the hustle that you have is amazing. That's like the general gist of what she said. Just know that if I can't get a job in the normal ways, I'm going to go door to door to all of these businesses and get the experience that I need. This is not where I would start. I would still try to get a paying job where I could have access to data, but experience is experience, whether it's paid or unpaid, especially if the job market is rough and I'm not getting hired anywhere. The point isn't where you start, but it's prioritizing getting a job with access to real business data to solve real problems. So you want to think about this as not where you're going to ultimately end up and spend the rest of your life, but it's a stepping stone to get the experience you need while you learn. That's how I build a real portfolio that helps me get hired at a better company once I'm done at the very end of this data analytics journey. So if I couldn't find an internship, a job, volunteer project, then worst case, while I'm still trying to hustle for that experience, I would work on data sets related to the industry that I would want to break into, related to the big goals that I have. Now, let's talk about how to choose the right industry before you even start learning. So to know where we need to head, we need to set our goals before learning anything. So I'm going to ask myself, where do I want to work? Or even better, where would be the easiest for me to get a job based on my background, my current interests, and my network? Because learning without a goal, that's going to be how I waste time, get overwhelmed, and build the wrong portfolio, and then have to redo things. I want to cut down the time spent on redoing things and being inefficient to being as efficient as possible to find a job. So let's say I'm starting fresh, zero domain knowledge, so I have no healthcare knowledge anymore. What I would do is I would gravitate towards crypto, finance, and investment, because that is where I naturally spend most of my time content figuring out. And if you didn't know, side note, my first channel on YouTube that I built was inside crypto trading, and revolved around that heavily. And my network currently still has a lot of people that would be in crypto, even if I didn't create that YouTube channel. So that is just one thing that I have that I'm still passionate about and that I genuinely find fascinating, that is growing at an exponential rate. So there is growth dynamics in there as well. So instead of treating this as just data analytics roadmap that is a one-size-fits-all, I want to find a specific niche that I could reverse engineer the actual skills that are needed inside those industries and what they care about. That way, every project that I'm going to be building, every skill that I learn, every line that I write on my resume is going to be designed to catch the right company's attention within this niche. In my case, I'd focus on crypto because I already have the specialized experience and real passion and conviction in that space. And when you're passionate about something, it's going to show in your work, and it's going to make it easier to learn data analytics. Because here is the key. I'm going to tailor my projects to crypto, and they'd still be highly relevant to fintech companies, investment firms, and general finance roles too, because at the end of the day, it's financial analysis. Financially focused, financially driven, and that translates across the finance industries because you're turning data insights into finance actions that will deliver real value to the business. Now that I have my niche set and what I'm targeting, this is how I'm going to dive deeper into it and take it a step further. First step is I would be targeting the right role. So I would start doing research on LinkedIn, Indeed, Well-Found, by using titles like crypto data analyst. Then I would take this a step further and check the career pages of companies that I admire and businesses based on the cities that I would actually move to. Because starting from scratch, I want to keep my options wide open, and I imagine that I would still be doing this relatively young. I'm willing to locate to wherever the opportunity is, because getting real experience early on is more important than staying comfortable, especially if it's a paid role. Unpaid roles, I'm just going to stay within my city, and I'd still be willing to commute an hour or more to get that experience if needed. Step two, I'm going to reverse engineer the skills that companies want. First, I'm going to grab 10 to 20 job listings, and then I'm going to drop them in the ChatGPT with this refined prompt. So act as a hiring manager and a data science mentor. Based on these job descriptions, identify the top 10 tools, technical skills, domain knowledge that would make me the top 1% candidate. Then recommend 3 to 5 high impact portfolio ideas that would directly reflect the problems these companies are trying to solve. Make the project idea specific, realistic, and relevant to the niche or industries that these jobs are in, i.e. crypto, finance, healthcare, etc. What this is going to do, it gives you a custom, high signal learning roadmap that is based on real demand in the market currently, and that's exactly what I want. Next, I would refine this with ChatGPT. Ask pointed questions, especially on things that I don't understand. The more tailored your projects are to the roles that you want, the more likely you are to stand out and be memorable in a hiring manager's mind. Because when your skills, your projects, and your goals are all aligned, that's when you stop getting ignored and start getting interviews and get your foot in the door. And then next is identifying and mastering the tools your target companies actually use. I wouldn't just stop at Excel, Power BI, Tableau, SQL. Don't get me wrong, those tools are essential. Every serious analyst should know how to clean data, build dashboards, communicate insights cleanly. But here's the problem. It might not be enough to be competitive or to work in crypto. Working with ChatGPT again, and also from just my knowledge, I would talk to people in the industry and friends that I know inside the industry to get a narrowed down list and then adjust from there, because your portfolio instantly is going to look 10 times better and more relevant to a crypto startup for me, because I'm analyzing what actually drives the business and using the tools that they're using currently to do it. But this just demonstrates the level of depth that I'm trying to achieve. So you might be thinking, this is a lot of work. Why does this matter? Because it's not just about building dashboards, it's about proving you understand what's happening under the hood. This might not be needed. I could probably find a job by getting really good at Excel, Power BI, and SQL, and then building projects on that. But if I want to be competitive and I'm trying to go to a highly competitive crypto company, this is where I'm going to head. This might not be needed to get my foot in the door at a smaller company, but it could be needed if the job market is rough and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get my first job, because I need that experience. You might be thinking, Jeff, I haven't learned anything yet. Yes, exactly. But this is exactly what I would do first before learning anything. That's why strategy comes first. Because once you know the roles that you're targeting, the tools that they use, and the metrics that they care about, every skill that you learn and build becomes laser focused and more relevant. Now I'm not just learning Python, but I'm applying it to real crypto data that hiring managers actually care about. This makes learning for me faster, makes my portfolio sharper, and my future interviews way more impressive. And now that I've mapped out my entire strategy, reverse engineered every step around the roles and the projects that matter, now I can start learning with purpose, because now it's going to be time to be tactical. Because the truth is, there is a lot of good learning platforms out there: Udemy, Coursera, Datacamp, DataQuest, Codecademy, to name some of the top few. I've used most of them. And if I were starting from scratch today, trying to break into data analytics while staying competitive for fintech, finance, and specializing in crypto, here's what I would choose just to start off with is I would choose Datacamp as my starting platform. Let me give you a breakdown and let's dive into how I came onto this decision. First, one of the biggest questions would be is why didn't I start with Udemy? Udemy is great. You'll find highly rated courses in SQL, Excel, Python, Tableau from top instructors, and then you'll get lifetime access, making it easy to revisit it at any time. But if I had to start over and become a data analyst today, I wouldn't start with Udemy. I'd start with a platform that gives me a roadmap and provides me with more structure. Knowing who I was back when I first started, I need this structure. I don't want to spend all of this mental space trying to figure out what to do. I just want it handed to me. So for me personally, when I'm new, the last thing that I want is to spend hours piecing together random courses, jumping between instructors, guessing what to learn next, and second guessing my decisions in the entire process. So now, while I still use Udemy, I still buy courses and I still use it to like right now, I don't want to do that when I'm building up the foundation. It's great for deep dives, niche topics like Postgres SQL, prepping for certifications that Datacamp doesn't fully support yet, like AWS AI practitioner and all of the tracks that are within there. If I wanted to get hired faster and just not get overwhelmed and just save my mental space for focusing on a platform, I chose Datacamp to build my base and just to get over the indecision and just do something right away. The other question that will come up is, what about Coursera or edX? These are great if you want a brand name certificate from places like Harvard, IBM, Google. Coursera and edX are great options, but they tend to be slower paced, more academic, and less hands-on than platforms like Datacamp, which is why I wouldn't start here if I were starting from scratch, but instead, I again would use them as strategic tools once I had momentum and had a foundation. Here's another great free option to Datacamp. It's the IBM Data Analyst Professional Certificate, auditing the course so you can take it for free. If you want the certificate, you're gonna have to pay money, but if you just want the skills, you can audit the course and take everything for free. I'm actually adding this after the fact because I debated back and forth and it kept popping up in student success stories and on Reddit threads from people who actually broke into data roles. So this is why I wanna bring it up as a great free alternative resource. The IBM certificate on Coursera is one of the highest rated beginner tracks and is currently updated as well. This is one of the reasons why I'm adding it on generative AI, which is a big deal since staying relevant in today's market is one of the things I talk about in this whole roadmap. So here's what I like about it. It covers Excel, SQL, Python. It doesn't have Tableau. It has Congos, so that's a little bit of a downside, but it has AI tools. So the AI module also helps you build modern and resume-worthy skills, so you get to have that adaptation moving forward. And then you get to work on real projects, KPI dashboards, financial reports, and then you have a full capstone project. And then you get, the best thing that I like about it is that you can audit the entire course for free and only pay if you want the official certificate. So if your budget is tight, what you can do, and you don't like Datacamp, you can use IBM as one of the best free alternatives to get structured and guided education analytics. But here's the reason why I personally don't like it from recommending as my main learning platform. IBM teaches Congos as their BI tool instead of Power BI or Tableau, and I want to learn Power BI based on my initial research. Also, the pacing and the delivery are, again, more academic, less beginner-friendly than Datacamp's bite-sized and interactive styles. But if you're theory and you're non-technical and it's harder for you to think algorithmically and you don't have that natural base, then this slower pace will help you prepare you with the theory and the foundations that you need. Also, if you choose the IBM route, you're going to need to supplement it with that Power BI or Tableau separately. But luckily, what I would do if I was going this route, both Tableau and Microsoft have free learning platforms. They're just a little dry and boring, so it's harder to stick to unless you're very self-motivated and you like the tech. So then that is another alternative. The other biggest reasons why I'd still pick Datacamp as my main foundation is, again, because I like having skin in the game, the momentum, the UI, and then it covers all the tools I need, plus covers more like going into data science, data scientist, data engineer, all of those other tracks, ML, AI for the future. So paying for annually still keeps me motivated, has skin in the game, and then I can just keep everything in one platform. But the IBM, like I mentioned, and we'll be mentioning, is one of those things that I will still strategically use in the future while I'm applying the jobs before I become a data analyst, just to find any gaps within my knowledge and to get that certificate to help me stand out. But I'd only do that after going through Datacamp and if I wasn't finding a job. So if you're trying to keep costs down or just want to double up another certificate, IBM's Data Analyst Professional Certificate is a legit option, especially now that it includes AI. So that's why I re-recorded this and added it moving forward. Next, people are going to ask, would I take the Google Data Analytics Certificate and certification? I wouldn't personally, because it leans heavily into R programming. R is just not used as much within the field in crypto and in the areas that I want to break into and the jobs that were open. So that doesn't align with crypto, fintech, and the investment focused roles in my research. So I would skip that. And also Google Data Analytics has a heavy marketing focus, which I'm not trying to dive into marketing. If I was trying to dive into Google Analytics and more marketing roles, then yes, I would consider getting a Google Data Analytics certificate, especially if I was applying to companies that use Google's platform more heavily than Microsoft or AWS. The next thing that I would consider also, and that is great from Coursera or edX, is going to be Harvard CS50 series. If I needed to strengthen my core concepts like algorithms, databases, AI fundamentals, or just computer science fundamentals, which I didn't have, I'm a self-taught programmer, self-taught data analyst, is I would go back and revisit the CS50 series because it's great. And then I'd be able to add in that I took an official class from Harvard. Inside this series, if I wanted to have a little bit of an edge later after I went through Datacamp for today's job market, what I would prioritize for Harvard's CS50 series is first, I would prioritize CS50's Introduction to Data Science with Python to build stronger analytics and modeling skills. And then two, CS50 Introduction to AI with Python, because AI is a hot topic, showing that Harvard-backed AI knowledge can immediately boost how competitive you look on your resume and to companies under the pressure to adopt AI. On that note, Harvard CS50's courses are excellent, high quality, and I recommend getting into them and going in through them if you're completely new to tech and you're non-technical. So things like algorithms, relational databases, or basic coding concepts might feel overwhelming to you, then I highly recommend starting with CS50's Introduction to Computer Science. And then if you want to dive deeper into databases specifically, CS50's Introductions to Databases and SQL is another excellent course that you can build critical SQL and relationship database foundations, skills for data analytics work. It's for people who are newer and non-technical. The next one is, what about Codecademy? I thought about Codecademy. I like Codecademy. I've used a Codecademy in the past. This was actually my starting point a long time ago when I started to learn Python, JavaScript, HTML, and SQL. It's a solid intro platform, but it doesn't go deep enough for what I need for data analytics, data science. It's great to get your feet wet, but just not enough to get job ready, or at least in my opinion, job ready compared to the other platforms. And then this brings us to the main point of contention, and where I saw the recommendations on both sides was Datacamp versus DataQuest. And this was my real decision and what I came down to. This was the hardest choice in my opinion. Both platforms are analytics and data science focused, but they serve different learning styles. I found that Datacamp is better for visual learners and audio learners like myself, and beginners who need structures, which would definitely be me back in the day starting over. They have over 500 interactive courses for Excel, SQL, Python, Power BI, Tableau, ML, plus more, career and skill tracks that'll guide you every step of the way, practice mode, mobile learning, and then also AI-powered tutorials. But I would still be having ChatGPT on the side to walk me through as like my personal assistant. DataQuest, I found, is more text-based. They do have visuals, but they're more GIF-based. They don't have the audio like I like inside Datacamp. But they are project heavy, and they have some very interesting projects that interest me enough, but I wouldn't want to start with DataQuest. It's great once you have built a base and a foundation, so I'd rather use it after Datacamp for more advanced real-world projects without the hand-holding, where I actually have to use my brain to think about it more. But that's why I chose Datacamp, because I felt like it was more suited to beginners. I liked the UI better, and I liked that I didn't like the lack of videos and audio compared to DataQuest. Also, I chose Datacamp as my core platform because, again, the structured learning is so important to me. And from a beginner, from starting off back then, I just know myself enough that just having that out there that I can just follow and not have to think about is significant for me. The other thing that sold me on Datacamp is they have an apply section, which is what I wish I had when I first started learning different skills like this. They have three main sections: real world projects, which is like they had interesting projects like simulating stock trades, building financial reports, analyze portfolio risk, which all can be tweaked into their own crypto versions. While the DataQuest versions, some of them more interesting than this is still enough to get me interested and to build a strong base portfolio for starting off, and then I can explore DataQuest afterwards. Then they have these other things called the code along projects. Basically, these are like guided walkthrough. Think of them kind of like webinars where you can just you hop on to this training and then you can code along the instructor, which is great. It felt like I'd be shadowing a senior analyst and got to watch and learn by doing, like I did in my previous roles, and by watching them problem solve in real time. So that was great. And then 3, competitions. This is one doesn't matter to me as much, but there are people who this is going to matter. I'm not going to be competing. I don't think I'm going to be ever competing because of how much time it's going to take. But what's interesting is you can study the winning submissions. So there's going to be thousands of people competing for all of these different projects to try to win prizes. And what's great about them is you can see the different projects that won, and then you can get ideas of how to make it better based on those winning submissions. So some of them are going to be easy to adapt into crypto niche focused portfolio projects, which I like. And again, is another reason why I chose Datacamp. The biggest thing is just it eliminates decision fatigue, because you can go analyze and reanalyze all of these different platforms, but they are all great. I just chose this because this is the one that I enjoyed the most and felt like learning on this I'd make the most progress on, so I could stay focused without needing to spend time managing my own learning plan. So let's dive into what is this entire cost, and like what is this going to set me back, and why paying for Datacamp works for me personally compared to like cobbling together something cheaper. Datacamp is going to cost, if you go on a monthly basis, $43 a month if you pay monthly, but you can pay for the year upfront, which at this time it's going to be about $330 upfront. But it's even less if you can catch a 50% off sale. It's going to be around $165 a year. Yes, it's more expensive than when a Udemy course goes on sale, where you can get it for like 12 to 20 bucks, or learning off free YouTube videos. But for me, this is me personally, I know what motivates me. When I invest more into learning, the more serious and the more committed I get. But I don't want to invest thousands or tens of thousands of dollars going back to school or investing in a boot camp. So this is the next best thing for a cost-effective option. I would buy the annual plan, and I treat them more like a contract with myself, that I have 12 months to learn everything I need and that I can before the renewal hits. That's a hard deadline in my head, and I have skin in the game, and now I can plan around that. It helps me stay consistent. I can learn faster than I ever could because I'm more motivated now, because I'm paying, instead of just using free sources where I can just dilly-dally and procrastinate, which tends to happen with me a lot if I don't have some type of motivator like this in place. There are other people who can just get by, power through things. More power to you. But for me personally, I need that structure and that skin in the game. And this goes beyond just learning basics. Datacamp also gives me the flexibility that I can pivot into data science, data engineering, learn AI and ML with this platform later if I needed to, or while I'm still looking for jobs to make me stand out as a better candidate. It'll just depend on, while I go through the job interview process, which opportunities are going to present themselves. So it'll depend on which way I go. And also, I'm also taking into account that I'm new and I'm starting over. I don't exactly know what I like yet. I don't know if it's going to be data science. I don't know if it's data engineering. I don't know if it's AI ML, but I want to keep those options open. And Datacamp has a lot of resources, courses, skill tracks, code alongs, competitions for these specifically. So that is another reason why I chose Datacamp. Now, the other thing that some of you might be thinking, he's only recommending Datacamp because he's an affiliate for Datacamp. Yes, I'm an affiliate for Datacamp, but I paid for Datacamp personally before becoming an affiliate, and it was highly recommended to me by friends that I trust in data analytics before I ever dived into data science. So I recommended the platform, and then I chose to look and try to become an affiliate so I can recommend it, so that it could support the channel, so I could keep making videos at a higher quality for you. So if Datacamp makes sense and you want to support the channel, I'll leave an affiliate link below. But no, I would recommend Datacamp even if I wasn't an affiliate, because I paid for it way before becoming an affiliate anyways. Also, a quick note, Datacamp offers their own career certifications that you can earn by passing their exams. It comes with the membership already. You don't have to pay extra like some of the other platforms. The only caveat is you get 2 free attempts that are included with your subscription. Anything after that, more tries, are going to incur a fee. So here's my honest take on these certifications. I personally think of these certifications kind of like completion certificates. They show up once you finish the full track and pass the exam, but they don't carry the same weight as a major industry certification like by Microsoft, AWS, IBM, but they're still nice to have to validate your skills early on, and also to give hiring managers something concrete to see while you're building your experience and also inside your portfolio. One of the biggest thing while interviewing candidates that we had was they made like this big portfolio, and then at the end, you saw all of their certificates of completion. They weren't industry specific, but it was a nice cherry on top that you could see it. They printed out all of them and how many they completed. So that's another visual thing that has more impact when you're inside interviews. Now comes the part where some of you have been waiting for, is how I'd stack my skills and learning in the right order and what I would learn and what sequence. So the first skill that I would be learning and focusing on is Excel. To no one's surprise, or maybe some people's surprise, Excel remains a fundamental tool in many analyst roles, especially in finance-heavy environments, which I'm targeting. I'd start with the Datacamp skill tracks. Excel skills are surprisingly not bundled under the data analyst Datacamp certification, but you would learn it under the Excel skill tracks. So these are just focus-heavy skill tracks instead of the career ones, but we're going to go to the career ones later. But here, just look for Excel. You'll be able to find these courses, which are going to be Excel fundamentals. And then 2 is data analysis with Excel power tools. I would add a third one, which would be VBA Excel, how to get started and make your work easier. So even though I plan to learn Python later, I want to start getting my feet wet by learning VBA. Inside Datacamp, VBA does not have its own dedicated skill track like Excel, but instead it's going to be tucked under their tutorial section, which they're the smaller, more focused lessons designed to help you quickly pick up skills without committing to a full course. And from my own experience, VBA is an absolute skill that I would take time to learn again. And here is why. VBA is one of the fastest ways to automate repetitive Excel tasks, cleaning messy data, formatting reports, updating dashboards with a click of a button. You don't even need to be a coder to get started. You can use Excel's built-in record feature, which lets you capture actions that you're clicking on your screen, and then it changes it into a macro in VBA code. And since I'm predicting that I'm going to be using Excel heavily, especially early in my career, I'm going to be learning basic VBA that would still be one of the highest ROI skills in the very beginning that I could pick up, especially to stand out in operational finance and crypto analyst roles because of how heavily they rely on Excel. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Additional and also alternative resources, if you can't afford Datacamp and you still want to learn, Excel is Fun YouTube channel, packed with 2,000 free tutorials that are great, highly recommended by a lot of people, and is one of the top Excel educators in the world. And then they also have a book that I recommend. I think I'm just old school in the sense, I like having a book that I can reference or just read and just take time out and just focus and just read a physical book. Microsoft 360 Excel, the only app that matters, is going to be a deep dive Excel book by Michael Gervin, which is the creator of Excel is Fun, focus on mastering the newest Excel tools and real world business workflows. I looked through the whole table of contents. That is one that I would be interested in buying and getting if I didn't use Datacamp, or even just to supplement on the side if I had time. The second skill that I'd be learning is going to be SQL. So if I was starting over, SQL would be the second core skill that I would build right after Excel. So this would be under the primary learning path inside Datacamp as a career track. So this means that this is going to prep you for the associate data analyst in SQL. That includes introductory SQL, intermediate SQL, joining, manipulating, and analyzing data with PostgreSQL, exploratory data analysis and data-driven decision-making SQL, then real-world projects are also baked into it. So analyzing students' mental health data and then motorcycle part sales. So it's built to give give you some hands-on learning with real data sets as well as you go through it. So additional and alternative resources would be the Complete SQL Bootcamp by Joe Putia. This is inside Udemy. It's taught with PostgreSQL, and it's one of the top rated, highly recommended courses, and it's taught with PostgreSQL, which is used heavily in startups. So that would be something that would interest me as well. It's a great alternative if you prefer a different teaching style and want extra project practice after finishing Datacamp, or if you just want it as an alternative for Datacamp. Also, a free alternative is freecodecamp.org, which is another resource I thought of, but it was heavily text-based, and it was so hard for me to just get into it. But their YouTube channel is amazing, so I highly recommend them. And they have a PostgreSQL course as well. They have some of the best deep dives. So it's a free comprehensive video tutorials on YouTube that are great for reinforcing concepts, practicing hands-on, and is a great free resource that I would consider. The third skill is going to be Python. So after Excel, after SQL, Python would be the next major skill that I build. This is going to be under the Datacamp career track, Data Analyst in Python. So you get that nice certificate again. This covers all essential Python skills for data analysts, including you'll get an introduction to Python, intermediate Python, data manipulation with pandas, joining data with pandas, exploratory data analysis in Python, introduction to statistics and hypothesis and testing in Python, introduction to data visualization with Scene-Board. Projects that are inside here are going to be exploring NYC public school test scores, visualizing the history of Nobel Peace Prize winners, analyzing crime in Los Angeles, and hypothesis testing with men and women's soccer matches. So just look, I wanted to list all of that so that you knew what you're getting yourself into, and it's designed to again give you real world projects as you learn and practice. So that was nice. Additional and alternative resources: Udemy's 100 Days of Python by Angela Yu. This is a project-based Python course that was supposed to act as a boot camp where you get to build projects each day. I love this course so much that I take it again if I were starting over, or if I wasn't going to use Datacamp. This is one of the fastest ways to build momentum and confidence with Python, especially since I was a self-trained programmer and self-trained developer. This helped me develop and figure out the places where my knowledge wasn't there, because I just cobbled things together. This helped give me the foundational knowledge that I was missing initially. The fourth skill that I would learn next is Power BI. So after Python, the next skill is going to be Power BI. This is needed, especially if I wanted to target finance or business analytics, crypto, data heavy reporting roles, because inside Datacamp, there's going to be a career track, Data Analyst in Power BI, which is co-created with Microsoft. So you get an industry certification, but you have to pay for the exam. But it gets you ready for the exam, the PL300 certification, and you get a 50% discount on the exam when you're ready. So this is an industry-wide accepted by Microsoft certification. Inside this track, they're going to cover things like introduction to Power BI, introductions to DAX for calculations, data visualization in Power BI, data preparation and transformation modeling, intermediate data modeling, DAX functions, exploratory data analysis, trend analysis, reports, report design, data connections, deploying and maintaining assets. Plus you get, again, real world case studies like customer churn analysis, HR analytics, to take you from beginner to portfolio ready. So you get portfolio projects that you can just put in there that will be nice to have, like the other projects that we saw. Now that is going to be my core stack, but here's how I'd specialize for my target industry and companies. So earlier I covered my foundational skills: Excel, SQL, Python, Power BI. But once I had those down, I wouldn't just stop there, because breaking into crypto isn't just about being a generalist. It's going to be about specializing in those skills to match real world industry problems. So that's also why we did the heavy research of the different projects that I was going to work on and all the different additional tools that I need to get familiar with that are crypto focused. So at this point, I would start looking at those projects that we initially came up with, and then I'd start building those projects and start learning the skills that are needed to build those projects. And then again, focusing on data storytelling, how to turn those complex blockchain and financial data into clear, actionable insights for the decision makers up above. So those are all the things that I came up with, just doing the initial research and then combining that with the things that we have earlier to start focusing on those specific projects for my portfolio. Which brings us to how I build these skills further and what I would dive into next. So at this stage, I wouldn't just rely on general platforms anymore. I would have gone through all the relevant projects, built them out, and then now I have a great foundational base to build off of. Now I'm going to look for those specialized courses on Udemy and niche YouTube channels, focusing specifically on crypto analytics and markets, fintech science, data science, and blockchain development, because the faster that I can start building projects that match the companies want, what they actually need, the faster I can stand out even against more credentialed candidates. And what I would do on top of this is I'd use AI to learn 10x faster. So while building these skills, I wouldn't just learn alone. I mentioned this earlier, but I would use AI tools to speed up the process significantly and help me get unstuck faster. So I would have ChatGPT on the side, breaking down any confusing topics, walking through concepts step by step, and explaining code errors clearly. I do this on a daily basis of trying to analyze different things. It's one of the ways that I understood macro financial concepts at an extreme deep level. I would have all of these reports. I'd listen to these YouTube channels where all of it goes over my head in the very beginning, all of these terms. But what I did was I had ChatGPT, and then I would just ask, what does this mean? What is credit swap? Why do they believe this? What is this financial move? Does this actually make sense? And then it would piece together, and it's so much better now than it was initially. And now I have an understanding that most people just don't understand about the financial markets. This I would use for crypto as well, and it is amazing. So make sure you're using ChatGPT, even if it's the free version. I would personally pay for the paid version just so that I wouldn't have a limit on the token amount of how much I could put into ChatGPT, but the free version is still great as well. And then specifically for coding, this was highly recommended by a lot of people that are using it inside their day job or using it to supplement their day job or build side projects that I know. Cursor AI, smart coding editor that gives you real-time explanations, suggestions, and bugs fixes as you type. I personally have not used Cursor yet, but I plan to dive into it more after learning some of the AI and ML stuff once I free up more of my time. But basically, it feels like, or like what I've been told, it feels like having a senior developer that's sitting next to you 24/7, which makes sense. That's what it feels like with ChatGPT without having to wait to help, but it's more focused on your entire code base instead of just pasting into ChatGPT. So ChatGPT and Cursor AI is what I would use to learn faster. Now, this is an important piece and something that doesn't get talked about a lot, but this is how I'd start building proof and a professional brand even before I felt like I was ready. Once I had momentum, even if it was just my first basic Python project, I wouldn't wait until I felt ready to start updating my LinkedIn. Because in crypto, data analytics, or whatever industry, visibility matters. The people who get noticed aren't the ones who hide until they're perfect. They're the ones who are positioning themselves early and getting themselves out there even while they're learning. So before sending out a single application, I'd make sure my LinkedIn was already doing work for me, building credibility, showing progress, and helping recruiters find me. So this is things I'm going to be doing on the side while I'm learning. So once I've started learning real skills and building early projects, the very next best thing that I'll do is optimize my LinkedIn profile. Not later, but now. And some of you might be thinking, why? Because recruiters don't wait and they're already searching and paying for keywords, checking portfolios and scanning profiles, whether you feel ready or not. If yours does not show up or looks half-baked, you're gonna miss out on opportunities before you even know that they existed. So here's exactly how I'd position myself as a serious data candidate, even if I was brand new or still changing careers. First thing that I do is upgrade your headline. Most people are gonna write when they're learning, aspiring data analyst, lifelong learner, passionate about data, or just whatever keywords that aren't SEO specific, search engine optimized, so that it matches what recruiters are searching for. It sounds generic and it also doesn't follow up and isn't friendly for you showing up. Instead, what I'm going to use is keyword-rich headline that reflects on both what I'm trying to do now and where I'm headed. I'm going to write data analyst, then I'm going to write SEO-rich keywords, SQL, Python, Power BI, focused on financial and crypto data projects. So even if you're learning, this makes you visible and tells people what kind of work you're aiming to do. This is going to tell people what role you're aiming for, what tools you use, and what domain you focus on. I already know what you're thinking, and this is where a lot of people get stuck and ask, can I really say I'm a data analyst if I don't have any job experience yet? Yes. If you're actively learning, building projects, and doing the work, you're allowed to claim the title. You can claim it at different places. There are data analysts who don't really do anything besides Excel. And there's some data analysts at some really small companies that don't even do anything with Excel that are still called data analysts. You're not saying that you're a senior analyst or pretending to work at a company you don't. You're simply aligning your identity with your goal. Recruiters search by job titles, and if your headline says aspiring or student, you're rarely gonna show up in search. You can have them make the distinction later or make the distinction if you get to a phone interview. But they'll reach out and then they'll discuss, and then you can have them make the distinction. Or the best thing is they'll reach out to you and you won't fit what job role they're looking for, but you might fit an associate role or an internship or some other opportunity, and you would never have gotten this opportunity if you wrote aspiring data analyst inside your title and your headline. The second thing that I would do is I would rewrite my summary to tell a story. So my summary should be something short and clear and forward-looking. So here is a basic idea and template that you could use. I'm transitioning into data analytics after, and then it would be depending on which path that I said. This is where I would insert that snippet here. I'm currently building projects in SQL, Python, Power BI, Excel, with a focus on analyzing financial and crypto data. My focus is to help businesses uncover insights and improve performance through better reporting and automation. Also, if I had wins here, I reduced the impact, I saved this much money, I analyzed this and came up with this insight, I won this type of competition, all of those different things I'm going to be putting into here. The third thing that I would start doing is featuring my work. So in the features section of your LinkedIn profile, I would have several links. I would have a link to a GitHub repository showcasing my best well-documented project, and a bonus to have a clear README, and then a short unlisted YouTube video that does a walkthrough through it. Then I would also have a Medium article where I teach something based on a portfolio project, not just show it, but teaching increases perceived expertise and also improves SEO. SEO is just search engine optimization to make sure that it can get seen by people, because you never know with where one connection can lead into a job. Next, I would have a personal landing page using a memorable, inexpensive domain from places like Namecheap that redirect to an unlisted Notion page. Why the setup works well is because Notion gives you a free living portfolio, easily updated as you grow. You don't have to worry about WordPress, buying shared domains. You don't have those worried expenses. You don't have to learn new technical skills. I built my portfolio project and on a website, and I had to learn all of that initially. You don't have to do that. You can do this in Notion, and it's easy and it looks beautiful. So just use that. Also, I would create articles covering my different projects, explaining them, not reteaching them if they were something I took directly from, say, Datacamp. But if it was my own project that I created with ChatGPT, then I would put it and reteach it to other people there, because you're going to know Medium helps you rank on Google, but they also have built-in discovery channels of users searching for things. So you never know where like a small connection can lead to a job, or even just a hiring manager looking through your Medium being like, oh, and then you have talking points during your interview of the different things that they saw in your Medium. Also, why would I buy a domain? Owning a domain is actually cheaper than you think it would be. So I would just have your first and last name.com if you have a unique name, or you could just do build with and then your name.com. It makes it memorable, signals professionalism, and then future-proofs your brand later if you want to launch a real site. But on top of this, people just take you more seriously when you have a website or you've done these extra steps, because a majority of candidates are not going to be doing this. And then if you wanted to take this even further, which if you're watching this, you probably want to take it even further. On your Notion page, you can structure it in different ways like a website. So you can have about me, you can have a learning map showing your progress and what you're learning. You can have your feature projects, you can have your certificates, and then you can have a contact info. These would be separate pages, and then people can just go and reach out to you. You could include mini case studies for each project. You could have 3 to 5 bullet points explaining the problem, your approach, and then your result. And then on Medium, you can have the focus of those articles around how you solve real world problems and not just a summary of your projects. And you know what's great? You can work with ChatGPT to help you create those articles and these Notion pages. If you have time, I would also highly consider embedding a short personal intro video from YouTube on your Notion page, and then embed the link so that people can humanize you, see you, and see that they would want to work with you and that you have great communication skills. That is very important. And creating a simple, well-branded ecosystem provides and proves that you're a builder, a communicator, and a professional even before the first interview. This is going to be doing a lot of that legwork and is going to be selling you as a candidate. And then 4, document your learning publicly. This is what I would personally do if I was learning, is even if I didn't feel ready, I would just still publish those projects anyway, and I would start small. Create posts that highlight your learning and your progress. The goal here isn't to pretend like you're an expert, it's to show momentum, curiosity, and alignment with the job that you want. When someone lands on your profile, they should instantly think, this person is serious about becoming a data analyst, and they would be a great asset to my team because they are working hard. If you're actively learning, building projects, mastering the tool, you already have the skill set, you just don't have the proof, the experience. So let's fix that and get you real experience. Now, what is the difference between you and someone else who's doing it professionally? Their company, skills, and experience. That's where freelancing comes in, or volunteering and doing it for free. First, freelancing, try to find paid clients. This is the first route that I would go, is I would go on Upwork.com, and then I'd set up my profile with the help of ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT follow-up questions if you're not sure what to do, and it'll do a great job of setting up your profile. And if I felt imposter syndrome while doing this, what I would do is I would treat ChatGPT like my business coach and my therapist to help me get past the internal emotions I'm conflicting with. This is exactly what I do today. I work with ChatGPT as my therapist or my performance coach to be able to help me get past these barriers that are affecting me. And it's been amazing. And then once I got past all of my internal demons and barriers and I have my profile up, what I would do next is I would search up every job request that's related to the skill that I just learned. So for example, say that I just finished learning Excel inside Datacamp and I got the certification. I would look for that specific skills. It could be building a financial data model, could be updating a template, could be creating a Excel dashboard and charts. Maybe it's VBA automation help. I would look for that, and then I would start applying for those positions to see if I could get that role. And then I would just charge really cheap for it because I want the experience. Or I would just try to go again to the Chamber of Commerce, try to find somebody who needs that help, and then I would work for free, build up that portfolio piece, and then I put that portfolio piece on my Upwork, and then I would try to get more jobs with just that one skill. So this is how you're going to be turning what you're learning into experience on the spot. That's what I would be doing, because what you're really getting out of this whole experience is real business problems to solve, portfolio projects with real results, experience to put on your resume so you can finally feel like a data analyst, and confidence to say that I've done this before, so that you can start edging out the applicants that you're competing against. So my goal at this time is going to be, after every major area that I learn in skill and platform, Excel, SQL, Python, Power BI, or even some major skills within those, I'd start applying those skills to a real freelance project or real business project within my job, and then turn it into a portfolio piece. Once I finish learning the core skills that I needed, I immediately start applying, because here's the truth, it's a long road ahead of you. In the very beginning, it's going to be a numbers game. Unless you're one of those rare, high demand candidates with elite referrals, killer portfolio, and niche accomplishments, you can't afford to wait for the perfect opportunity. And me starting over from scratch, I'm still gonna have the same 2.4 GPA. I expect to fully get ignored, ghosted, and rejected early on. So what I do in this case is I give myself every edge possible, which we talked about earlier, and even the smaller ones as well. And one of the fastest ways is certifications, not because they prove mastery, but at a glance, they make you more credible and prepared and serious than 90% of your competition, especially those who do not have it. Next certifications that I would consider would be cloud and AI certifications that I would stack later if the market demanded it. So once I had the strong data foundations after Datacamp and started applying, I'd start stacking cloud and AI certifications strategically. Candidates who already have basic AI literacy means it's easier for companies to stay competitive, to hit their AI initiatives faster. So showing AI skills isn't about future-proofing anymore. It's about staying relevant right now because I see that this is going to be a skill that's going to be needed in the future. So here are the different certifications that I would be considering. First one is going to be the AWS Certified AI Practitioner, or the AIF-C01 certification. Covers core AI concepts, AWS services, strong capability for AI and ML companies. The prep that I saw was using Udemy's Stefan Merrick's Ultimate AWS Certified AI Practitioner course, which is exactly what I'm using right now, and it's helping prep me, and I like his teaching style, so I highly recommend it. The next one I would consider is Microsoft Azure AI Fundamentals, or the AI 900 certification. This covers machine learning, NLP, computer vision, AI services in Azure. The prep that I would use for this would be the Microsoft Learn, which is free, so all of their free courses that they provide, or Scott Duffy's AI 900 Udemy course, highly rated, but is usually around $94.99, but I'd wait for a sale. The next is going to be Microsoft Azure Fundamentals, which is the AZ900. These next courses are specifically under cloud, and I will only go into these if I notice a trend of the different interviews or different job listings I was applying for that they use AWS or they use Azure. So for this one, this covers general cloud computing concepts and useful if I need to get into the broader tech literacy and have exposure to the Azure platform. The prep for this would be, Datacamp actually has a skill track for this. So they have Microsoft Azure Fundamentals, plus you get the 50% discount on the AZ900 exam, which would be nice. And then the next one would be going back to AWS, Cloud Practitioner, or the CLF C02 certification. Again, this provides general AWS cloud literacy, especially valuable for those crypto companies, DeFi, fintech startups that operate heavily in the crowd, which AWS has a lot of those companies on. The prep for this would be the Datacamp skill track, the AWS Cloud Practitioner. Unfortunately, there is no exam discount. Now, say that I stacked all of those certifications, had all of the crypto projects, optimized my profile, did all of that. What I would do now, if I'm still not finding a job, is I would hustle harder, but on top of that, I would add data science and ML AI later if needed. So I'd go through those career tracks inside Datacamp. So the first one I would go through is Associate Data Scientist in Python. The next one is Data Scientist in Python. And then the third one would be Associate AI Engineer for Developers in Datacamp career track. So these tracks would help me level up from pure analytics into advanced modeling automation into AI-driven decision-making, giving me more flexibility no matter where the market moves, and then also giving me upside if I got into various roles. Next is another thing that I would focus on that would make it significantly easy for me to get a job is how I network my way into opportunities. This comes with one of the most powerful forces for breaking into any industry: networking. First, I'd start by reconnecting with everyone that I knew in college and high school, as long as we had a good or neutral relationship. I'd go through LinkedIn and then I'd ask, do they work in tech, analytics? Are they connected to anyone that does? If yes, I would start reaching out with a short but also sincere message. It's something along the lines of this: hey, it's been a while. I hope you're doing well. I'm trying to pivot into data analytics and would love to connect with anyone you know in the field. No pressure. If someone comes up to mind, I'd really appreciate it. Also, if they are a friend that was close at that time and just haven't seen them in a while, I would ask them to hang out and see if they had time for lunch, dinner, or coffee to catch up to see how they're doing. Now, I wouldn't just stop here. I'd also look up local meetups, tech mixers, data analytics conferences and events in my area or close to me that I could drive to. Anything that gets real people into the room. Even if I don't know anyone, I'd go. I'd talk to strangers, I'd ask questions, I'd offer values. I've gotten random jobs from talking to random people and striking up conversations, and then we get into our roles and what we do, and then I've gotten little job offers and little things and clients just from doing that randomly without like strategically doing this. So you never know what connection, what conversation could lead to a job. I'd also be strategic about this and think about what events I could potentially go to that are full of decision makers. Which ones do not have a bunch of people coming into it as job seekers and have the people who can actually get me hired. So I don't have to compete against a lot of people, and then it would be unique for me to go. So from there, I would also figure out how I'd hustle my way into bigger opportunities. So at these different conferences, I would volunteer so that I could attend for free. I would hang out in lobbies, side events of the paid seminars that are related to data or businesses that are looking for data and data-driven solutions. Also, one of the unique things I would do is I would prep branded USBs. And what these would have is my resume, my portfolio, and different things and videos inside here that I could hand off to anyone who says, let me check with my boss if we have any openings. This way you can give it to them. It's highly memorable. Some of them are going to be like business cards, and then you just flip it open and then it'll have the USB connector, you put it in, and then it'll have everything that you need inside there. So that'll be something I will use to stand out and be memorable. And then it's an instant access into all the most important things to sell me as a candidate. Also, I know myself, if I was trying to break into data analytics from scratch today, know that I'm obsessed, and I would be obsessed with doing this and doing whatever it took. If you couldn't tell already from my strategy, because in this market, it's not the best candidate who gets hired, it's the one who is seen. So I'd be stacking small, consistent 1% improvements after all the big improvements. Resume tweaks, portfolio upgrades, practicing and improving my resume and interview skills, and then following up on rejections to ask for legitimate feedback to improve. Whatever it takes until that door opens. This is exactly how I'd become a data analyst today, not by chasing the perfect course, not by waiting to know that I'm good enough, not by letting a tough job market hold me back, but by taking action today, tomorrow, and every day until I got a job. Because in today's job market, it's not the person with the most degrees who wins, it's the one who adapts and keeps showing up. The one who gets rejected, learns, and comes back stronger. Because the only way that you lose is to stop improving and take yourself out of the game. So if you're here at the end, that was a doozy, but this is exactly what I would do to learn the skills, build the projects, and get hired in data. Again, I would start with Datacamp, the platform that I personally paid for and still using. The regular price, if you're interested in at the time of recording, is about $330 for the full year, which breaks down to about $27.50 a month if you pay annually, or you can just pay month to month for $43 if you prefer the flexibility. But what I would be waiting for is to catch one of their sales. The annual plan sometimes drops for around $165 for the whole year, which is an even better deal if you're ready to go.
Future Jeff here. As I was editing, I just found out Datacamp is running a 50% off sale from May 2nd to May 29th. So if you're watching this in time and interested, don't miss out. And if you're watching after that, just check the link in the description. It'll always take you to the latest promo. They run deals pretty regularly, so I keep it updated so you don't have to miss out. And a fun surprise, while I was grabbing the link, I found out that somebody already signed up through the channel and upgraded. So if you're not quite ready, you can do what they did. Register for free, explore the content, and then upgrade later if it's a fit. Also, last bonus tip, check if your company offers reimbursement for continuing education or job training. A lot of people don't realize you might be able to get a full refund for learning on platforms like this. So check that out and see if that makes sense.
I'll leave an affiliate link below. Support the channel if you found any of this helpful and if that makes sense for you. So thank you for sticking with all of this and for watching. And until next time, query responsibly, and I'll see you in the next video.